Shalom, today is the 11th, finally it's the 11th episode, and here's the speech and here's the extra notes. By the way, I have not many time to lose, because this is going to be one of the best one episode. This is a bonus episode, and for this episode we'll tell even more proof that Torah is real. The people in this generation has a lot of achievements and devices, but little did they know that the Gemara, the oral Torah, also has it. How, you ask? It is maybe it's my opinion. Possible by two things. A, it could be that Hashem spoke to holy people in their dream, or what we call prophecies. Or B, it could be that they read it in the Torah. So now here are the achievements that they had in the oral Torah, and even one in the written Torah. So now let's start. In the Tanakh, the Jewish scriptures, we have a book named Shemot, Exodus in English, and in Exodus chapter 1 verse 15, it says that the Hebrew midwives of Pharaoh was named Shifra and Puah. Their job was to deliver Hebrew babies. Only to find out in the Gemara tractate Sota 11b that Shifra was Yocheved and Puah was Miriam. So why were they called like that? Because Shifra comes from the word shoferet, meaning to breathe in. Because when a baby is born not breathing, she would give it a mouth-to-mouth method or strategy. This is also called CPR, 3,300 years ago by Moses' mother. Anesthesia, doctors didn't invent it. Who invented it? In the Gemara, Masechet Bava Metzia, page 83b, it says that Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. One day someone called Rabbi Eliezer wicked. He said, your vinegar coming from wine. Your father, Rabbi Shimon, is righteous, but you're wicked. Why? Because he would send the Jewish criminals to the non-Jews. So according to the Torah, someone who's truly righteous, when they die, their body doesn't get eaten up by the worms and the maggots. It's also proven when they open up graves of righteous Jews when you're not supposed to, but they do. It was like they're buried 2 seconds ago. So now Rabbi Eliezer made a surgery to see if he's really righteous. He took out its fat. This is 2,000 years ago, okay, remember? We call this liposuction. And it says in the Gemara, Masechet Bava Metzia, page 83b, that we gave him a certain type of drug to put him to sleep. We call this anesthesia. And this surgery was made in a table of granite because it doesn't absorb all the germs. We discovered this in the past generation or so. And they got maybe 2 to 3 buckets of fat, which is in today's medicine you cannot do. And so it means they have more advanced medicine than today. And they got the story, they got put it outside and it stayed fresh. No one touched it. But nonetheless, they already had it 2,000 years ago. How could this be just known in the past 100 years or so? In 1881, the scientists found out that flies were able to transfer diseases. But in the Gemara, Masechet Ketubot, page 77b, it says that Rabbi Yochanan says, be careful of flies because they will transfer HaRatan. HaRatan was a certain type of disease. Yeah. Silver, which is used a lot in medicine, has healing power. It's scientifically proven. But in the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, page 65a, it says that one is allowed to put a silver coin on his wound, even if it's Shabbat. Because Shabbat you cannot touch silver, but it's life risk, so you could put it there. You already knew it 2,000 years ago. There's this thing that's scientifically proven. When there's two hairs come out of one hole, the person becomes blind. But in the Gemara, Masechet Bava Batra, page 16a, Job and Hashem, the prophet of the nations, talking, and Job saying, Hashem, maybe a whirlwind came to you and made you dizzy, and you thought that, Job, my name is Oyev, which means enemy. Hashem said, listen to the answer. In each man I created tiny holes, and I would make sure one hole grows in one hair grows in one hole. For if two hair grow in one hole, it would make the person blind. 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago. One of the things that people just found out in the recent generation is that wine is good for the heart. But in the Gemara, Masechet Berachot and Masechet Avraham and several other places in the Gemara where it talks about the difference between wine and beer. Beer is very terrible for the heart. Wine is good for the heart. We already knew it. What's good for the heart or what isn't. What's terrible for the heart. Adam in numeric value is 45. Why 45? Because father in Hebrew is Av, spelling Aleph and Beit. And the mother in Hebrew is Im, spelling Aleph and Mem. And the numerical value of Av is 3 Aleph, 1, and Bet, 3, 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. And numeric value of Im is 41. Why? Aleph is 1, Mem is 40, 41. 3 plus 41 is 44. Plus Hashem, Hashem is 1. 1 plus 3 plus 41, 45. We have Adam. In Hebrew, man is named Ish. I'm just gonna remind you, this is not like Spanish, abuelo, abuela. And in a woman is Isha. This is not abuelo, abuela, okay? Spelling of Ish is Yud, Aleph, and Shin. Spelling of Isha is Aleph, Shin, and He. Now, if you take out the Yud in the word Ish, it becomes Aleph and Shin, spelling Esh. What does Esh mean? Fire. And if you take out the letter He in Isha, Aleph, Shin, and He, take out He, it also becomes Esh, fire. Meaning, if they take out Hashem in the piece of the husband and the wife, they become angry, cursing, fighting, divorce, etc., etc. So, Hebrews, there's still more proof, but there's too much. Whoever person, I think it was Christopher Columbus, that discovered that the world is a sphere, you're searching on Google. Google says it. The Greeks, ancient Greeks, represented that the world is a sphere. But the Gemara, Masechet Avraham, that is 2,000 years ago, page 41a, it says that there are all kinds of idolatry. Even if it's idolatry in the day, meaning you're worshipping the sun. And so they asked, what if it's a picture? They said, if it's a picture of a man holding a ball, you're not allowed to take it. And they asked, what does it matter what he's holding? And said, because if it's a man holding a ball, then it represents that he is a king, ruling the world, because the ball represents the world. They said further, just as a ball is a sphere, so is the world. So is the world. Flat earth theories against the Torah. Why? Gemara Masechet Avraham, page 41a. One of the things that I said in this episode is the disease HaRatan. We call HaRatan today tumor. And just so you know, tumor is a disease in the brain, but the Jewish sages had a very, very good strategy, better than today, on how to treat this HaRatan. They used a special type of cream and applied it to the forehead of the patient. And they used a very, very sharp knife, and the cream makes the head of the patient soft. Easy to open. This is written in the Gemara Masechet Ketubot, page 77b. And it's written almost 2,000 years ago. Almost 2,000 years ago. King David wrote in Tehillim, in Psalms, says that Hashem made a shelf for the sun. As it is said, in their midst he has set up a tent for the sun. Psalms chapter 19 verse 5. So there we see that there's a shell in the sun, but it's scientifically proven. Who did it? Dr. Vidal, senior astronomer at the Greenwich Observatory in England, professor of astronomy at Australia's National University. They started taking X-ray pictures of the sun, and they discovered that the sun really has a shell. Now, why did Hashem create the sun this way? Because the temperature of the real sun is 5 million degrees Celsius. Look how hot it is. Meaning, if the sun's shell didn't exist, so wouldn't we? We wouldn't exist also. Let me tell you, many people are talking about the Holocaust. But did you know that the Holocaust predicted many times in the Gemara and the Torah? First, I'm going to say it in the oral Torah, then in the written Torah. In the Gemara, Masechet Megillah, page 6b, it says that Yaakov Avinu, Jacob our father of blessed memory, is praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, about Esav, but not Esav his brother, Esav the nation, meaning Edom. And Yaakov Avinu said, before the Holy One, blessed is he, Master of the universe, Ribono Shel Olam, do not grant Esav, the wicked, the desire of his heart. Do not remove his snowstring. That's what he said. Why is there no string? Because if you see a giant bolt that could literally destroy a cement wall, if you put this little no string in here, he lost all his power. Why? Somebody's controlling him now. They said, this refers to Germania, a royal province in Edom, who if they would but go forth, they would destroy the entire world. Germany is what the Gemara Masechet Megillah page 6b is talking about. How? Because the Gemara, Germany I meant, is the Hebrew word, Germania is the Hebrew word for Germany. And if you looked at history, Germany was found 800 years ago, and this was written 2000 years ago. How did this happen? How did they be founded? By a combination of 300 barbarian nations. So let's see what the Gemara says. In the Gemara, Masechet Megillah, page 6b, says that Rabbi Chama bar Chanina said that there are 300 crown princes of Germania of Edom, and 365 chieftains in Rome. And every day one group goes forth to encounter the other groups, and one of them is killed, and they would then have the trouble of appointing a new leader in his stead. This is what literally happened to Germany. Now let's go to the written Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Now, the Holocaust was predicted in Parashat Vayelech. It's the shortest parasha, Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 1 to Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 30. 30 verses. Now, let me tell you. In Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 14, it's in verse 14. And just to tell you that today's what is it, March 1? Yes, March 1. And by the way, it was supposed to be Purim, but it didn't continue because it was a leap year. To push one more month. Anyways, chapter 31 verse 14. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. Stop. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe. What is the spelling of Moshe? Mem, Shin, and Hey. Circle the Hey, count 49 letters, and the 50th letter will be Shin, meaning there's 49 letters space. Count 49 letters, the 50th letter will be Vav. Count 49 letters, the 50th letter will be Aleph. Count 49 letters, the 50th letter will be Hey. Hey, Shin, Vav, Aleph, and Hey. HaShoah. What does HaShoah mean? The Holocaust in Hebrew. Now, what is the verse talking about? It's talking about when Hashem will conceal his face from them, and they will become prey of many evils and distress, and they will encounter it. And it will say on that day, is it not because my God is not in my midst that these evil have come upon me? This is talking about a huge tragedy. And what's happening? This was already 3,300 years ago, already predicted.